That night felt different than usual. The stage lights were bright. The fan screams echoed throughout the arena, and the energy flowing between the BTS members was more vibrant than ever. However, amidst all the splendor, there was one small moment that managed to steal the show. A simple, spontaneous moment, yet enough to make thousands of eyes widen and millions of hearts flutter. It involved two men who always managed to leave the world wondering: Jimin and Jungkook. At first, everything went as usual. They performed professionally, charismatically, and in sync, as they always did. Jimin danced gracefully, his every move delicate, yet emotionally powerful. Jungkook, on the other hand, performed with explosive energy, his voice steady, his aura captivating. Nothing seemed out of place, at least until that moment. During a short break between songs, the members began interacting with the audience. They joked, waved, and teased each other. Jimin, with his signature smile, tried to say something to the camera, perhaps a short message to ARMY. But before he could finish, Jungkook suddenly approached. At first, nothing seemed suspicious. Jungkook often approached the other members, especially Jimin. But this time was different. The way he walked, the expression on his face, and the look in his eyes, everything felt more intense. He was standing very close. Too close even for those accustomed to skinship. Jimin immediately stopped talking. He turned his head slowly, his eyes meeting Jungkook's. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The audience might not have noticed it immediately, but to those observant, something changed in the air. The gaze was too long to be coincidental, too deep to be considered ordinary. Jungkook said nothing. He just stared, and that made it all even more real. Jimin began to look nervous. His smile changed, no longer the confident one he usually wore on stage, but instead, it was a small, awkward smile, almost like someone who didn't know what to do. His hands moved slightly, trying to cover his face, but that only made his reaction even more obvious. Jungkook finally spoke, but not into the microphone. He whispered something. No one knew exactly what he was saying. No sound could be heard clearly. But the effect was immediate. Jimin's face flushed, not from exhaustion, not from the heat of the stage lights, but from unconcealed embarrassment. He chuckled, trying to brush it off, even pushing Jungkook gently, as if to say, "Stop." But his expression said otherwise. The audience began to react. The shouts grew louder, and some even began chanting both of their names together. The camera captured the moment, zooming in on their faces on the large screen, making everything even clearer. Jungkook smiled, a smile that couldn't be mistaken. A smile of satisfaction, as if he knew exactly what he'd just done. And most surprisingly, he didn't try to hide it. Normally, they would quickly divert their attention, return to their formation, or joke with the other members to obscure such a moment. But not this time. Jungkook remained there, still standing close to Jimin, even occasionally glancing at him with the same expression. Jimin? He couldn't hide anything anymore. He tried to focus on something else, tried to talk to the camera again, but every time Jungkook moved even slightly, the reaction returned. There were chuckles, averted glances, and even the occasional hand covering his face. It wasn't acting. It was all too natural. The other members began to realize the situation. Some smiled, others chuckled. Some even tried to flirt subtly, adding to the excitement. But no one really intervened. It was as if they, too, wanted to see how far this moment would go. And Jungkook? He continued to play on that edge. Not too much, but enough to make Jimin lose control of his own expression. At one point, Jungkook finally stepped away, but before he did, he gently patted Jimin on the shoulder. The brief touch seemed normal, but the way Jimin reacted made everything feel different again. He looked down, laughed, and shook his head, as if still in disbelief. The crowd couldn't stop talking. Even after the concert was over, the moment immediately spread across the internet. Short clips, GIFs, frame-by-frame analysis, it all appeared within minutes. People tried to guess what Jungkook had said, trying to read their body language, trying to understand the dynamic that seemed so obvious, yet so mysterious. Some said it was just a casual joke. Others were convinced there was something deeper. But one thing was undeniable. Jungkook didn't try to hide it, and Jimin couldn't hide his reaction. That's what made the moment so powerful. Because in an entertainment world saturated with control and image, such spontaneous moments feel rare. There was no script, no planning, just two people reacting naturally to each other. And perhaps that's why so many people keep coming back to it, watching it over and over again, trying to catch the little details they might have missed. Jungkook's gaze, Jimin's laugh, the distance that was too close, the whisper that wasn't heard. All of these elements formed a story that was never actually spoken, but felt. Over time, that moment became one of the most talked about. Not because it was anything grand or dramatic, but because of its simplicity. Because of how one small action could reveal so much without the need for words. And every time people rewatch it, they always discover something new. The way Jungkook held back a smile before approaching. The way Jimin instantly changed when he noticed her presence. The way they both seemed to be in their own world, even though thousands of people were watching. It wasn't just any ordinary interaction. It was a moment where one person couldn't hide what they were feeling, and the other knew exactly how to make it happen. And perhaps, without them realizing it, that's what made it all so real. Because in the end, it wasn't about what was explicitly said or done. It was about how one small moment could speak louder than anything else. And that night, Jungkook did it perfectly. He didn't hide it, and Jimin couldn't hide it.